Hello everybody, my name is Muhammad and shh, keep your voice down. For you see, I'm embarking on a dangerous quest. A quest so dangerous, it's already taken several people. Oh man, they're out for blood. Now some of you may be asking, Maher, what are you doing? And to that I say, what do you think? I gotta go faster. For those who don't know, TheRealJims is a Nickelodeon TV show created by Butch, autism can be cured with the power of prayer, Hartman. The show went on for 10 seasons, suffering from seasonal rot before ending in 2017. In 2022, a live-action animated hybrid sitcom titled The TheRealJims Fairly Otter came out exclusively for Paramount+. I reviewed it back when it came out, and in retrospect, I might have been too kind to it. Though it doesn't matter now since the show got cancelled so hard that as of right now, you can't legally watch it. Now fast forward to the present day, and a second reboot is in the works. We've known about this reboot since 2023 with its pitch Bible and concept art being leaked. But now the full 22-minute pilot episode Fly has also been leaked. So screw it, let's discuss. I haven't done a single episode review like this since 2021, so this will be a neat change of pace. I'm clearly not going fast enough, so let's get into the plot. Fly is a pretty good pilot. So you see, 10-year-old Hazel recently moved to Demadelphia and is not adjusting very well. Not even a minute into school and she already has a bully, and that bully purposely seeks her out just to bully her some more. Because of this, and due to factors like her older brother not being able to visit her due to bad weather, she tries to leave. Though it's a good thing that Cosmo and Wanda are living in the same apartment that Hazel's family just moved into. Cosmo and Wanda have been retired for 10,000 years, and have used that time to just explore the world through different time eras. Though now they're trying to just be normal humans. However, seeing Hazel in her current state triggers their fairy senses, so they ask her if she wants to be their new fairy god kid. That is after a bunch of Fly shenanigans that take up 1/3 of the episode. Reminder, this is a pilot, so we have to establish a law in 22 minutes. But overall, Fly was not a bad episode. In fact, it wasn't awful. That's shocking. To be honest, it's unfair to critique the animation in its current state since it's very obvious that it's unfinished. I would say that 98% of the leak is ready to go, but that 2%, man. It can be wildly inconsistent with characters jolting from pose to pose or the lack of sound effects. But it's to be expected, the show hasn't even been formally announced yet. And it seems like the people who do know about it are being taken care of. But for what we have, it didn't have bad. It reminds me of Rugrats 2021 and especially Big Name in the lighting department. For some reason, these recent CGI Nickelodeon shows are unnecessarily dark for no reason. I don't get it. However, I actually think that the models in this show are better than Big Nate and Rugrats combined. The show is sticking to be as faithful to the original FOP art style as possible, which includes fixing the camera so the characters are always appearing in specific sides to avoid Uncanny Valley, having the faces be animated in 2D which doesn't look half bad, using smear frames, keeping the designs faithful to the UPA art style the original FOP was trying to go for, squats and stretch, and overall, just looking really good. I remember when the pitch Bible and some test animation were leaked and everyone saw the concept art and rightfully panicked, but thankfully the show does look way better than how the test animation looked. It seemed like they redesigned the character slightly from the test animation and I think it was a huge improvement. The eyes are actually together, not spaced apart, thank god. There are times where the show is actually in 2D instead of CGI, and for some reason Nickelodeon just can't get the show to look good anymore in 2D. Like, even though it looks better than Fairly Otter, it still feels off in a way I can't describe. It can't be that hard to remake the style, right? Out of all these scenes in the show that were in 2D, there's only one scene that actually looked good, and it's this portrait scene with Cosmo and Wanda. And I'm like, why? I don't know why. It's so confusing to me. It might be the outlines. There are times that the show employs some Ren and Stimpy type gross out shots that seem to be in 2D, I want to say. I can't tell if it's 3D or 2D, but like, it doesn't look that bad. But at the same time, I still feel like FOP in general wasn't the type of show to do that. I mean, it did try that in like its original run, but like, they dropped it pretty early on because it just doesn't fit the art style. One could argue that with all the 2D being used in the show, it should have at least gone fully 2D instead of CGI. But I don't know, I think the amount of effort put into the CGI should be applauded for at least trying and not just being kid. First things first, the show's kinda funny. Not every joke lands, I'll admit, but I did catch myself laughing or at the very least chuckling at some of the jokes. I would play a clip of some of those jokes, but you know. Man, I paid good nothing for that background. Anyway, another pro is the world building, strangely enough. You can tell how much the people who are working on the show cared about the original show and how many new ideas they have to bring to this IP. For example, the main school bully that was shown in this episode, that's Dev, the son of Dale Dimmadome, who, if you remember, was one of the people Vicky enslaved to make the lemonade for her in Season 2's Nectar of the Odds. The pitch Bible has also expanded upon his role, with him being a rich tech guy now in the future who will later become an antagonist in the show. When you look at Dev here and then think back to someone like Nate Buxaplenty from Fairly Otter, a character who had no connections to Remy or the Blux of Plenty family from the original series apart from the name, it makes a newish bringing back a minor character and expanding upon his role really refreshing and gives him a reason to exist, unlike Nate. I think the time jump is also just really refreshing as well. One of the few things I liked about Feliata was seeing what the legacy characters were up to 8 years in the future. Vicky being a teacher and Cracker escaping from his asylum were really interesting ideas to me, but the show didn't really go far with them, nor did I feel like it really cared about that sort of thing, besides wanting brownie points, like referencing Timmy for 1 billion times. Or just randomly bringing something back like the time scooter for no reason other than, it's the thing! However, Newish already seems to know what story it wants to tell and how to do it, as well as expanding on characters from the original show and overall giving more depth. From the pitch Bible, it's shown that season 1 we've mostly spent on episodic stories with Hazel and the fairies, before slowly drifting apart to becoming more serialized, with the season finale having Dev be granted Poof, now an adult known as Perry, as his fairy due to Dale being a bad father. And then season 2 is going to be bringing back the Pixies. Heck yes! I got to be quieter. There is more to talk about, but I don't want to get too hyped out of fear of being blown to smithereens, so I recommend reading the pitch Bible yourself and then seeing what else there is. Plus, this is about the first episode, not the entire show, so I should probably focus on that instead of talking about stuff that hasn't even been aired yet. Another pro is Cosmo and Wanda. The show and pitch Bible made sure to spotlight them and have us catch up on what they've been doing since FOP. For one, Feliata isn't canon, thank the Lord. Another thing like I mentioned earlier is how they've been retired for 10,000 years, which I find to be a unique aspect since the pitch Bible points out that, due to this, Cosmo has gained a bit of wisdom due to his time on Earth, and Wanda's intelligence is weakened because of old age. We do this aspect in the episode, and I actually really like it since it brought Cosmo and Wanda to the same level intelligence-wise. Think of it like the Oh Yeah cartoon shorts of the first season of FOP, where the two halves of a whole idiot. It's refreshing, and I love seeing Cosmo and Wanda act like they love each other again, instead of whatever this was.
For once I agree with your shrill, commanding, and authoritative voice. I mean, I love you!
Another pro are the characters. I think making Hazel's dad a scientist specifically studying the natural was a really cool idea since it opens up a lot of new conflicts for Cosmo and Wanda. This episode showcased them being very laid back with hiding their magic, so it would be interesting seeing them need to be more strict and focused as to not get caught in the future. To be honest, I think Hazel's a pretty good protagonist, so I would hope that more of her flaws are revealed as the show goes on. I think the setting looks fun. The pitch Bible made sure to tell you that this is not Dimsdale, like they specified it. So I find that to be unique, and hopefully that does influence how the show is going to behave in the future, and hopefully it makes it feel more fresh as episodes go on. Once again, Cosmo and Wanda. I think having them be neighbors that they can interact with Hazel's parents and not just be pets opens some doors to some amazing opportunities in what the show could originally do. Like, the original show got so sick of that they just gave up halfway to the show, and now they just let the fairies interact with humans normally. So them actually caring about the rules feels nice. Oh, I almost forgot about the music. FOP always had banger music, usually jazz I noticed. Like, one of the best things about Feliata was the theme song, but here, the show doubles down on the jazz, and oh my god, yes! It's just super nice to listen to. Totally not hiding my bias as someone who loves jazz, but god, am I happy to see this aspect of the show be brought back and made a bigger theme, even if it is just a motif. They better do a musical episode, I swear to god, they better do one. And yeah, it's pretty much all the pros I can think of. Now into the cons. First things first. Hazel, I love you, but you're teetering over the do I deserve fairies line. Fairies are supposed to be granted to miserable children. In FOP, Timmy had neglectful parents, an evil babysitter, a psychotic teacher, and bullies who put him down relentlessly. He is prime fairy godparent material. Chloe from season 10 is the opposite end of the spectrum, where she is literally perfect. Feliata is worse than this since they try to say that Viv is anxious about moving, but she proceeds to fit in gracefully, so Timmy giving Cosmo and Wanda to her wasn't really the best move. And don't even get me started on Roy, she's literally worse than Chloe in the fairy requirement. A New Wish has the she's anxious about moving excuse, so here they also throw in the fact that this is her first time being separated from her brother, and I feel like her rant to Cosmo and Wanda does show a bit of a selfish side to her, so I feel like it's being justified a bit better here. You also have the bully Deb, which immediately does target her, so the bar is rising a bit more. Though man, these loving parents are really hurting your credibility, Hazel. In the pitch Bible, Dev is going to get Perry as a result of his dad not being there to support him, so the show is aware that being a neglectful parent is a good factor in needing fairies. Just saying. So like I said, this is the first episode, so I'm really hoping that future episodes poke more holes into Hazel to show off her true personality. So from what we see here, I do have a feeling that she's trying to act perfect, but can also snap when things don't go her exact way, which is very relatable. And I guess you could argue that because Cosmo Wanda hand selected her and wasn't assigned to her, it does bypass it, but at the same time, Feliata also used that excuse for Timmy to just give his fairies to Viv, which I don't even think was allowed. Another con could also be Wanda's voice. It's not that bad, don't get me wrong, but her voice actress is definitely heading down the Marge direction, if you know what I mean. And I'm more that in the future her voice is going to become more grainy and raspy. This is less of a con I'm over nitpick, but I really hope future episodes are not 22 minutes. Here, the episode is 22 minutes. Though it is the first episode, so I'm hoping that future episodes are only 11 minutes and that only specials are 22 minutes. I'm of the belief that FOP works best in 11-minute segments, and while the episode was good, don't get me wrong, I'm afraid future episodes will try and stretch something out far more than it needs to be. Another con would be the attempts at 2D like I mentioned earlier. I just can't understand why FOP doesn't look good anymore in 2D. Fairly Otter also had this problem. If a new wishes and tracing model sheets, you're getting these types of drawings, but I can't understand why, but they look off. Like I said, it isn't awful, in fact, far better than Fairly Otter, but it looks off enough that it just feels weird, and when I look at it, I think it might be the outlines. FOP is a show that has a thick outline because UPA style, and I think it looked really good, so seeing them be thinned out is just such an odd choice to me. Another con is the title, to be honest. This is going to sound extremely nitpicky, but it always annoys me when a reboot of a show is presented as a reboot of the show. For marketing, sure, it can work, but what really bugs me when it bleeds into the actual show, where it's kind of stuck with this new identity that'll be super weird in 5 or so years when the show is no longer considered new. A huge example is Animaniacs 2020. Even in its 3rd season that came out in 2023, the theme song still mentions how their careers have made comebacks and how you should see their new contracts. Really? Clone High is another example. Season 2's theme song was entirely rewritten to get everyone up to speed between what happened at the end of Season 1 and 2 and this reboot in 2023. And it's funny how in Season 3, it's still talking about how the clones were frozen on prom night 20 years ago. No, you're no longer frozen. I cannot wait for hypothetical Season 4 or heck, even Season 5, where I'm going to tune into the show in like 2026 and they're still going to be talking about this. And I only say this because A New Wish. It's such an odd title to me. Like, what will happen when the show gets picked up for like 3 seasons or something? You won't be new by that point. Honestly, Fairly Otter was such a good name for a reboot, and it being attached to such a bad show is just... what a missed opportunity. And I know this doesn't affect the show quality at all, but it just really bugs me. Oh god. Overall, A New Wish looks very promising. I'm actually very excited for it to be released, and I'll be making sure to watch it whenever it comes out. This is the most exciting thing I've ever seen come out of FOP in so long. The Fairly OddParents history is such a tragedy, so seeing a new show that has passion behind it, and you can tell the team respects the source material, is something that I, and I'm sure many others, have been waiting for so long, and I hope to properly review when the full show finally comes out. Phew! I made it out of there, and completely unharmed.